Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about J Mascis' fourth studio album, What Do We Do Now? This comes from the Dinosaur Jr. frontman and guitarist J Mascis. After quite a long layoff from his last solo studio album, Elastic Days, which was my favorite of his albums, really enjoyed the kind of experimental rock mixture with some like kind of pop songwriting structure. Thought it was really well made, very well received as well, and probably my most listened to album by him. And on What Do We Do Now, we see a different side to Jay Mascis. We see a more contemplative, a more melancholic, an older version, as he is almost 60, I believe, at the time of making this video. His album definitely reflects it, and reflects him as he gets older. The instrumentation seems to be older, sounding basically with the singer-songwriter style continued, but with an addition of this alt-country and folk rock style, where throughout the album we'll see a mixture of, like electric guitars, acoustic guitars. Drum and keyboards are in the album, but they are very small parts and sadly not too memorable on the album, and kind of just play a backing part to it, which I'm a little disappointed in, but it's not the end of the world. Throughout the album, you definitely kind of get a very similar structure throughout it of getting older. The writing style of it is very similar. The hooks seem kind of similar and repetitive throughout it, which isn't always bad, but for most of the album, that does kind of make certain songs seem a little too similar. Like on It's True, which is probably my least favorite song on the album. It's the most forgettable. The songwriting is not great on it. It's not horrible, but it's just not great compared to other songs that he has written, whether it be in Dinosaur Jr., whether it be in a solo career. This song just does not really add up to it. And while I am a big fan of the song Right Behind You, as I think that's one of the better implementations of this style with the hooks, the chorus is great, probably my favorite chorus on the entire album. And then my favorite song when it comes to just like interesting structure-wise, mixing is great on its end is Getting Shaky. I think that's a really good closing song to have for the album. I think it's greatly executed. I think his tender vocals on that song are great. The mixture of guitars is good. Sadly, the drums and just keys in general on it aren't too memorable, but that's kind of an issue throughout the entire album, so I'm not going to single out on that. Overall, the album was interesting, not too long, not too short. I feel like he got kind of to the point a little too quick on the album, and then kind of repeated the same concept throughout it. And while he did better on songs near the end, in my opinion, with the exception of It's Time and then Right Behind You being near the start of the album, I overall think the album just kind of was lackluster. It wasn't a bad album, but sadly, it just didn't stand out in the grand scheme of experimental rock, in terms of J Mascis' career, in terms of Dinosaur Jr. Definitely, I don't think it was necessarily what we were expecting from this long layoff from Elastic Days. Really liked Elastic Days, and I'm not saying he needed to do the same thing for the album, as that just wouldn't make sense for him to do. But I feel like he didn't put as much into this album as some of us would have liked. We kind of wish it might have been longer in certain parts, maybe dived a bit more specific throughout it. Wish the instrumentation, even on the really simple songs, just, I don't know, was a bit different. Whether it be the structure for the melodies on stuff could have been interesting. And the keys on the album might as well not even exist. It kind of honestly gets a little annoying, the fact that they're even in some of the songs and you're just not even going to notice it. The drums, just nothing to write home about. As said before, just kind of seems very bare boned. And while that's fine for certain songs, especially in the folk and country scene, if you're going to add them into it and kind of keep them the same throughout the entire thing, it's going to get dull. And overall, that's just kind of how I feel with the album. It's a little dull. It's not bad, and I think people should listen to it, as it is a good body of work for J Mascis, but I do not think it's an album that will be repeated a lot, sadly. And for that, I'm feeling a 6. Let me know what you thought of this album. Leave it in the comments, and I'll see you all later.